So here's our idea. We want to build what we consider within a reasonable budget to be the ultimate simulator. So at work there's myself, there's Pete, and there's Rob. I've been sim racing for as long as I've been playing computer games, so let's just call that 30 years. Rob's a bit of a gamer. I'm talking a bit of PlayStation action, but he's also an ex-rally driver and rally-winning rally driver as well. So when it comes to making this car look and feel as authentic as we can, he's going to be crucial. Also the fact that he's brilliant at making things, and I say making things, I mean making pretty much anything. That's from doing bits for the car, brackets to make all the sim gear go in, to creating massive structures to hold projectors, basically whatever we need, Rob can build it. Putting up walls, anything, he's there. So we've been looking around at some simulators that have been based around real cars and just how they work and what we can improve on. And one of the main videos we came across was this one from Game and Muscle's channel when he visited the Sim Racing Expo at the Nürburgring a couple of years ago. And Porsche, on the Porsche stand, they brought along a GT3 Cup car, and how they were running it was with a couple of seat movers and 3 big monitors, big screens. And so when we heard his reaction to that, with Game and Muscle being a guy who plays a lot of VR, and then his reaction to this saying how much better it was than VR because of having the real car there, having the real controls, looking through a real windscreen, and he said it's more immersive. So that's what we're going down. So here's Rob playing a bit of VR at the workshop. We were early adopters of it with the Oculus Rift CV1, and we play a lot of Dirt Rally, we play some Project Cars, and we don't take it too seriously. Rob being an ex-rally driver, he's always trying to get us on Dirt Rally, and Pete being a bit of a track guy, he's a Porsche man, he's always trying to get us on Project Cars. So you can see here we're using a V3 motion platform. We're considering maybe putting one of these in the car to sort of replicate that GT3 Cup car that the Game Muscle was using. This was a clip from a screenshot from when Jimmy Broadbent, I think, tried out the BMW rig at the BMW factory. It was like £1 million simulator, but again, we're just looking at versions of something we'd like to produce. You have a search around online, you can see here's the Subaru parked in front of 3 massive screens with projectors. We're going to go down the projector route because the screen sizes we want, to do it in a telly, you're talking tens, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds in massive TVs. So projectors is the way forward. In terms of what sim gear we're going to use, we don't know. If you look at the last clip of Rob on the rig, we've got Thrustmaster stuff that we've had for years, but we're contemplating changing that for maybe Fanatec stuff, maybe direct drive, but we're not too sure. So at the moment we want to base it, I think, around something road based. If you can imagine trying to get like an LMP chassis or something like that, it'd be really difficult to not just build it with availability, but it limits what you can drive. And so to cover the most bases, we're going to go for something production based, so then we can jump into a rally car, a touring car, GT3, anything like that, and it will feel authentic. Obviously with VR you can jump into anything and it feels great from the get-go, but we're limiting what we can do, but we're covering most bases with that. So yeah, that's the idea, and then we'll try and find a car, and once the donor car's here, we'll get on with building it. So the donor car, we found it. Didn't take too long. A little bit of back and forth, a little bit of discussion, and we've decided on Honda Civic EP3 Type R. And the reason being, the 2002 British touring car in red, looking the part. Obviously they made the real EP3 road cars in red, black and silver, so we've managed to source one locally in red. It also has a naked engine, so it was very cheap. Of course we don't need an engine for the simulator, so that's worked out really well. So a few £100 later, and we've got a completely standard red Honda Civic Type R ready to be stickered up to look the part. I think we're going to go with the big wing on the back as well, because it'd look a bit wrong if that wasn't there. We can't go for the big arches and the big sills like the touring car. They do a kit for it, actually. Someone out there does do a kit, but it's thousands, I think. And ultimately, most of your experience in this whole thing's going to be sat in it, but we still want it to look right as you walk up to it. I remember watching these obviously early 2000s, but watching touring cars as a kid in the late 90s and into the early 2000s. And I remember these, and when they first came out, I was like, oh, they just look so good. And I almost bought one as a road car back in probably 2004. Almost financed myself up to the eyeballs to get one, but I didn't. I bought one many years later for a few grand and ran it until a lady crashed into me. But anyway, the one we've got is this one, completely standard in red, and the next job will be a full strip down of the interior. Engine's going to get hacked out, and someone thinks they're going to rebuild that. Let them crack on. So yeah, on to the next stage of getting her ready to be stripped. So we've got the car, we're ready to get on with the stripping out. No time to mess around, let's get straight into it. So first jobs, Rob got the rear seats out the back and all the rear trim, all the plastics, carpets, headline and all the surrounds in the rear, and got those out. Moved on to removing the front seats, the front carpets, all the door trims will then be coming off, and then we'll move forward to getting the dash out, steering column, which we're going to leave for a little while because we're still moving the car from place to place and we still need to be able to steer it. But typical Honda, everything's coming out an absolute treat, no problems. Some of these used to suffer quite badly with water getting in them, but this is really, really good, this one. Seems a shame, really, because apart from the engine which had gone on it and the exterior bodywork being a little bit tatty, inside it was great, really. It was in really good nick. But she's here for a purpose, so yeah, more stripping out. No guide, really. Just if it's bolted in, unbolt it, and she's coming out a treat. We've made a few decisions since the last video. We are going to put a full cage in it. We talked about putting a fake cage, so like a plastic one, but you're going to be leaning on it and you're going to be touching it every time you get in and out the car, and it's just going to feel like, it's just not going to feel real. We're not cutting many corners on this, so Rob's toured us into a full cage, and he's really looking forward to welding that in once it turns up. So custom cages are supplied us with a full custom cage for the car, so it should be pretty straightforward to tack it in. But yeah, look, she's stripped out, needs a bit of a clean now, but it's like new inside. To be honest, once you give it a clean, get rid of all that dust and dirt, it's in really good order. Dash out now, and just look at it. It looks like it's just rolled to the production line, ready for its interior to be put in. Yeah, really impressed with how easy it came apart, but also what good order it's in inside. It's in really good condition. Engine's gone, as you can see. That wasn't such a simple job, but it only took one late night after work, and that was out and gone, and hopefully be getting rebuilt to have a second life in somebody's track car, I think. Whether that gets done or not remains to be seen. But yeah, we've pretty much got everything stripped out of the interior now. Just a couple of late nights and a weekend, and we had it all done. We're not sure what we're keeping or what we're going to get rid of or what's going to go back in, but I think there's hardly anything going back in. But we've kept a few bits aside anyway. And now just taking the screen out. Rob wants the screen out, so it's going to be a bit easier to put the cage in, just with the welding and things. So she's coming out, and then we're just waiting for the cage to turn up, and then we can start putting that in, and then look at fabricating brackets and things to accommodate the sim gear. Still a little bit undecided on which sim gear we're going to go for, but I'm leaning at the moment towards Fanatec stuff. Used Thrustmaster a lot in the past, but the Fanatec quick release gear is top of the list at the moment. So yeah, screen out, car fully stripped, ready for the cage in the next one. So the cage turned up from Custom Cages, and we started work getting it tacked into the car. Beautiful piece of kit, made specifically for the EP3 Civic. So every piece was made to measure, went in really nicely. Rob here just tacking a couple of pieces in, and then zipped around and got it all finished off. Makes a huge difference just to the feel of the car when you're just inside it with the cage. It just feels racy. So I'm so glad we went for the real cage rather than trying to come up with some kind of imitation like fake cage, but it's really good. Yeah, and then we masked off, getting ready to spray the inside. Decided to go for like a satin black, just to keep the light down really and keep a nice even clean finish on the inside. So yeah, just rattle can just around the car. It's we weren't going to take it to the extent of a professional spray job, just for satin black on the inside. So yeah, cage in and sprayed, so that was all done in one day. Again, Rob working really quickly. He's like built real race cars, real rally cars before. He knows exactly what he's doing. He loves it, so he's just keen and got on. See a few pictures of it just between coats. We have made a decision, and what we're actually going to do is, if you saw any of the previous videos where we're running a next level V3 motion platform with the VR, we're going to put one. Actually, we're going to put two in the car, a driver's one and a passenger's one. If you know what they're like, though, they've got quite a high base to them, so we're actually going to cut the floor out and then lower them in, sat into the floor, so you're still sat really low race car position in the car, and the mover is below through the floor. So next stage really, now the cage is done, is to start getting some of the brackets made for the sim gear. So we decided first job was to get the dash back in. Rob wanted the dash back in there so we could work out where we're going to put brackets and things for the wheel, shifter, handbrake, things like that. We hummed and hard about flocking the dash, but we keep a lot of this carpet in stock at work for van linings and things like that, so it was easy enough just to wrap the top of the dash in the black carpet and give it that flock kind of effect that you see in race/rally cars. Rob and Pete are doing this all the time, day to day, so they flew this on in next to no time, and then we get it dropped back into the car. Like I said in the previous one, we decided to go for next level V3 motion platform for driver and passengers seats. We are still going to go for the cutouts in the floor. The easy option was to just plonk them in, but if you know the V3 and you know how deep that base is with the motor, you'd just be sat too high. We made a little mock-up just to sort of see what it was like, because you can't really just say it's too high. We sat on it, it was too high. So we're cutting the floor out. People aren't too happy about it, but it's happened anyway. The car's for the sim. It's never going back on the road. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah, here we go. So the boys just slotting the dash back into the car, a little bit bending. Rob's also cut some other pieces out of this to obviously make it fit because of the cage now. It's making it a little bit tight, but it slots back in, an absolute treat. Rob's fabricated it down to a really fine art again, and she's in. In the centre console, where, if you know the Civics, where you'd have the radio, the aircon, things like that, we're going to have a centre screen. So we took the original plastic housing out, as you can see here, and then we're wrapping it in carbon fibre vinyl just to give it that nicer look. The vents go back in, and then in the middle there where the main hole is, we're going to have a centre screen, and where the old shifter was, we're going to run a bracket for the sequential shifter and handbrake. It's the AO Logs one, I think they call it. They're made out in Russia. Really nice pieces of kit. Coincidentally, at the same day, we had a nice package turn up from Demon Tweaks with the Sparco seats. We had a bit of a dilemma again with the seats. We've had to go for a narrow version of seats because if you can imagine the two of them sat in the car and two motion platforms moving them, we need to have enough room between the outer sides of the seats and the cage for that movement. So you can't tuck them right in against the cage, because every time it moves, it's going to be hitting the cage, damaging the seats, and putting stress on the motor. So they need to be narrow enough to have enough room to move, but wide enough so you can get more than a child in it. But yeah, there they are. Really, really nice piece of kit. We decided to go for fiberglass built ones instead of steel framed, just because of the weight saving and less stress on the motor again. And there's little Molly dog testing out one of the seats. So here's the motion platforms. That's the original black V3 that we had on the VR rig, and then the red one, it's actually a V2. It just popped up on eBay coincidentally, quite reasonable price. So we snapped that up. The only difference between them really is just the finesse of the movement, but the driver's seat will be obviously have the V3 in. Here we get into cutting out the holes, and there's the Nightmare Honda chassis rails that were a bit of a pain to cut through. And then Rob's made up these grey brackets, so we've got some adjustment in, so you can see him put them in the side. And then we've got the different holes, so we can just play with it just to try and get nice and level, because the floor isn't completely level and the platform's slit. So you can see here we're just trying some different variations of those holes to get it as level as we can. Seat brackets on. And then we start getting the seats in. So we have a look here, you'll see it from underneath. You can see how low it sits. We're almost putting the thing actually on the floor, but you can see how much difference that makes with having the actual mover sat in and not sat on. There's the driver's one in, ready to go. Again, you can see the brackets that go straight onto the seat mover. We had to make sure we just left enough room from the top of the seat mover itself to the brackets, so when you've got that pitch and roll on the seat, it's not going to foul on the floor. We found the sweet spot with it where it doesn't foul, but he still sat really low in the car. So this took a couple of days actually, making this look really easy, but this took a couple of days to get these right. Cutting out those holes was a nightmare. We were at it for ages, but I can say we've done a nice job of it, and it's come out really well. So as you can see now with the seat on, you can see how it still looks reasonably high there, but you can imagine how high it would have been if we'd actually put the seat movers just plonk on the floor inside. While we're doing it, we put the pedals in. The pedals were like really easy. We just made up a little piece of bracketry in the back there. Club Sport V3s, Fanatec ones, dead simple, and then a couple of bolts through. And there you can see again the seat mover mounted into the floor. Nice to see how low we've got it now. So really, really happy with that. It sits so nice. Just trying the seats here. We've still got plenty of adjustment in them, so we'll find a real sweet spot with them where they've just got enough room to move. You see how we've got a slight overlap in the middle, but we're going to adjust them back out. So on the next one, we're going to fit in even more gear to the car. So with the seats in the car now, me and Pete moved on to getting some of the cosmetic stuff done on the outside. We got a load of stickers and vinyls ordered in to do the replica of the 2002 British Touring car. So we started getting those on. Pete gave the car a bit of a polish, and then we started putting them on the bumper, on the sides, and then it's just some black and white pinstriping vinyl around the front. Just to finish it off, and it just transforms it so quickly. It makes a huge difference. Then we're going to move on to get some of the bracketry made for the wheel. There's nothing worse, as you'll know, as a sim racer, if you haven't got a sturdy wheel frame and the thing's just got flex in it. So we want to make it really sturdy. So Rob came up with a quick design that's come out a treat. You can see here the gap between the seats now in the middle. We moved them back out, spaced them better, and we're happy with that now. So yeah, masking up a bit on the side here for the black stripe that comes over the wing and down the side of the car. And it always looks a bit crap, that, but as soon as you put that white pinstripe on it, bing, it just comes to life. So yeah, that, the difference between before and after with that, it just looks so much better. So that, again, a bit of time, and that was done. If you look at that now and then you compare it to what we're trying to copy, which is that, you can see basically what we've gone for. Obviously that still looks really, really good. because of all the wide arches and big sills. But yeah, we're close to it, and we're happy with it. To be honest, you're not really going to see the front of the car that much anyway, because like you can see here, it's going to be parked right up against the top of this unit with the screens there. Rob went and made some race door cards for us, just cut the bottom off and used some of the black plastic. And then we got one of the Tagiwa's big rear wings. It just looks the part, doesn't it? And it probably looks better than the original, which is there, so really happy. And then the actual wing itself is just a cheap eBay job. It's just like, it has got some end plates to go on there. But it looks ace, that bracket. I'm really happy with that. And then Rob basically took some measurements, eyed up a few things, and fired this piece of bracketry out in one evening to mount the wheel to. It bolts right back into the bulkhead, as you can see here. So it bolts right in the back, and it's triangulated, so it's like so much stiffness in it. There's hardly any flex at all. So yeah, we just made a few adjustments, just getting it just right in terms of height and tilt. And then there's a brand new V2.5 there from Fanatec with the BMW rim. To go straight on that quick release system on those wheels as well. It's so sweet. So we're just test fitting that now, just sitting in the seat, and it's all starting to come together with the full new rim there as well, just because. And then we're just eyeing up some screens, so just running SimHub with the telemetry, and just seeing if we could just have it there. You see, with the BMW rim, it works really well because you see it straight through the rim itself, and yeah, happy with that. And then just eyeing up the center one, see where we're going to put that. And yeah, again, it's everything we thought we were going to do. Seems to be working out really well. Little bracket made up now. This is going to have the shifter and the handbrake on, so put it through the center console right there. Again, Dimitri out in Russia, who makes those shifters and handbrakes, they are mega. They are so good. So yeah, the stuff's getting bolted in now, and you can sort of see where everything's going to be. Dead happy with it. And most of the stuff that we've measured up and fitted, because Rob does stuff like this, and he gets everything right. It's one shot and it works. A little bit of adjustment. So here's Rob putting the wheel on for the first time while sat in the seat, just to feel what it's like, and the seating position, everything. And I think the smile on his face tells all that, really. Yeah, really happy. So now at the point where we're starting to look at getting the screens together. Size options, the easy option for us was we're going to go 8 by 4 feet, just because that's what size a lot of the sheets come in. But when we looked at scaling things to the real car, we needed to go bigger. So we've gone 10 by 5, which means we're going to have a join in. It's a compromise we're going to make, but when you've got a moving image on the screen, you hardly notice it anyway, so we're okay with that. So we started off with the wooden frame, and I'm using an MDF, a real solid base, for then stick our white plastic to, which will be the screens. So you can see them coming together here, and you can see the join in the top. It looks really obvious there, but honestly, once you've got a moving image, you'll not even notice it. Once you've got the first one in, as you can see now, we just wanted to have a quick run through and just see what it was like just with one just plonking the projector on the floor. As you can see, you can't see that join line now at all on there, so that's a singular screen just running a quick stage on Dirt Rally. So that's 10 foot wide by 5 foot tall, and then we've obviously got the other two to put in, but we need to make the frame for the projectors first. So next job was to get the metal out again and start cutting the frame up. So here's Rob welding in the pieces. Again, he's measured it up, eyed it up, we've decided how it's going to sit, and it's going to be on top of the frames that the screens are on. So this is the contraption we've come up with. And this will slot then on top of the screens and screw down into the wooden frame at the back. You can see there how it hangs over the top, almost like spider legs, so the 3 projectors can hang at equal distances from the screens. You'll notice the top of the screens aren't quite level, but they just got to be in an area where when you're sat in the car you can't see top, bottom of any of them, and the image will slightly overlap all of the screens. And so you won't see the top edge of the screen sat in the car, so that's irrelevant, that part. It's literally just the difference in the height of the floor that's made that. So yeah, screens are in, projectors are in, and then we started running it with the 3 together, as you can see, just having a quick run. Blending the edges together was the hardest part, because obviously you've got no bezels like you do on a screen, and getting them all to match that took ages. But again, once they're set, they're set. So me and Rob are having a quick run, first time on triples, and it was great. The instant immersion of it was brilliant. So we've got quite a little bit of footage here of running through our first few runs with the triples. Once we set the joins between the side screens and the main front screen, it was set and it was done, and it worked perfectly. There's a very slight overlap, but you've got a choice between a very slight overlap or a very slight gap. And overlap just causes a bright spot, and the gap causes a dark spot, and the bright spot is less noticeable, so we stuck with that. As you can see here, looking through from the back of the car, Rob has a bit of a spin. How it looks is great. The left screen, for some reason, it's not the screen, it's the projector. The left projector just seems to be a little bit fuzzy, a little bit hazy. So we're going to order a replacement mirror for that one and just see if that'll just clean it up. Looking out the side though, when you're in the car, you don't really notice it so much, but when you stand behind the car, and you can see from some of these shots, the left screen does look a little bit fuzzy. But yeah, we're really happy with the way it's come out. The biggest thing that sticks to you is when you get up behind another car, like you can see here, is the car size right in front of your full-size windscreen is, it's a full-size car. You really feel like you're going to hit, a full-size car, as opposed to even the best sort of triple screen setups that you see with monitors. Everything's scaled down so much, so you got your hands on the real size wheel, but what you're looking at through your 32-inch monitor, even a 50-inch TV, the cars and the dash and the road in front of you is just not to scale to the real life steering wheel. So, but I think everyone gets used to that, and you don't notice it. It's only when you get into a real car that's been turned into a sim, and you're chasing down virtual cars that are life size, that if you ever go back and play on a traditional monitor, you see that difference. So the immersion factor, that's really, really good. The seats are working well, as you can see. We're not getting them fouled off. We did turn down the motion a little bit, just because in VR you don't see yourself moving. It's just the feel. When you're in this now, using the screens, a lot of motion is counterintuitive to it, if you like. It's like less is more. So turn them down just to get a feel of like road textures, any big bumps. So if you see any shots here where we're going through the corkscrew at Laguna, you'll see the way the sort of seats compress, make you feel like there's a compression at the bottom. And some of these parts here at the Nürburgring, it's the same kind of thing. And jolts and bangs, that's really how we've got it dialed in. So it doesn't look like a roller coaster ride from the outside, and we don't want it to. It's just you get a nice feel. Also, with these shots now with the GoPro on, it's attached. I was sat in the passenger seat attached to me. You can see the kind of movement that I get in my body from what Rob's doing with the car, and it looks quite natural. Like he's just clipping the curb on the inside there, and you're just sort of seeing me move. So that's what we want. We don't want the thing jolting and banging around loads. So yeah, we've been doing a bit of driving this week and testing things out, and everything's worked really well. We've got the screens mounted in there now, as you see. So the main screen behind the wheel with all the telemetry of the car, tacho and gear indicator and things like that. And then the middle screen running brake and tyre temps and splits to the car behind. But obviously all that is completely interchangeable using SimHub. Prime example there, the car coming past you, you can just look out the side window and watch it, and it's brilliant. It works really well. If there's one thing I'd want to do a bit better, it would be get the joins between the two screens, so you can see in the far corner there on the right where the right screen meets the centre. You can see that line. Actually, from the driver's seat, you don't see that because it's behind the pillar. It's behind the A pillar, so you don't see it. And you focus so far on what's up the road anyway, you don't notice it. It's just when you step back and have a look at it, sometimes you see a few things. But there's always going to be something we want to change. There's always going to be little bits we want to improve on. But because we only finished it a few days ago, we're really happy with where it's at. The one thing we're missing really is a rear view mirror. So I'm looking at a few options to get a virtual mirror and then export that to either a phone or a little tablet and put that where a rear view mirror would be in the middle. So yeah, there'll be a future update, I'm sure, on the next step, but for now that's where we're at. So this is the workshop part. You can see the old messy workshop. We recently moved next door and we've kept hold of this one for the sole purpose of making it into our sim room. So first job was to clear out all the old bikes, all the old stuff, and get it back to the walls and see what we're dealing with. So this is the top half of the workshop looking back down. You can see in the bottom we've done some plastic lining on the walls, and then the top half we're going to make this really, really dark because this is where the car is going to be. Not sure, I think we're going to separate the two parts of the workshop with maybe like a false wall or something like that, just to make this top end really feel like you're in a separate room where the car is, and the back bit being a bit more of a bit for everyone to sort of hang around and wait for their go. I think that'll help rather than feeling like you've got people around you when you're in the car. But yeah, so the black carpet which you use for lining in vans, this goes up really, really quick. The gaps you can see here are the width of the roll, so we just threw lengths up just with a spray adhesive, and then we cover these gaps with these edging trims, these strips that go up and down. Here's the bottom section where we're using the white plastic. Again, this is another van lining material that we use, but it's so clean, and it goes up in big sheets. It goes up fast and end up with a really nice clean finish, like a really nice workshop. When it's done and it's all finished, you feel like you've stepped into like an F1 workshop. It's almost sterile. It's really, really nice. These floor tiles, they're from Duramat. We actually got a load of them for the new workshop next door, so we've been working on them for the past 6-8 months, and they're really hard wearing, dead easy to keep clean, and the best thing is they just transform the floor. They transform the look of that room massively. I mean, look at the old floor and you put the tiles down, it's just in seconds you completely transform the look of it. It's, you know, when you put really nice wheels on a car and the whole car just looks completely different. It's the same if you have a look at what you're looking at here and then you see it when it's finished. The room is just transformed. Like the back edge step there, we're going to put some you have this really hard wearing wood kind of effect floor that we put in vans as well, called Wizardeck, and we're going to put some edging across that back bit there where it steps up into the office. So you can see, Pete, here they're just clipped together. You can separate each one of these tiles, will actually separate down to 4 times smaller. So you can see on the very edge there where we've got a smaller strip. Decided to go for the bigger blocks because it's just, you get a better definition of the pattern. And on the top end we've gone for some smaller squares just to mix it up a little bit, and then you put an edging board around and it looks really, really nice. So you can see you're doing the top bit there in the smaller tiles, and the walls with the edging strips now, and you can see how quickly and clean that comes. We had the electricians in to put some more sockets at the top for all the things. Saw a quick shot there of telly we're going to have with some like live timing, and then Rob's building the wall here, and that's going to have glass in the middle for a little view and sort of gallery into the sim room. So there it is with the glass looking back out from the sim room, and then from this side looking back through, and then just covering that in the white plastic, and you can see it just transforms the room, completely transforms the look of the whole place, and that's pretty much where it's at. So there's the room, there's the before and after. As you can see, the old messy workshop and now the new sim room. Apart from just looking miles better, the room feels a lot bigger. It's so clean and tidy, and we're really, really happy with it. The gap on the right there between the two rooms is going to have a door, so you can sort of close yourself in and it'll feel really good. We're going to get some bar stools and some tables in here, and then she'll be pretty much finished. So there you go.